Hello there, and welcome back. Tonight, we won't be traveling to golden palaces or libraries filled with the accumulated wisdom of the ancient world. We won't be listening to the stirring speeches of senators or the soaring poetry of celebrated bards. Tonight, we're going somewhere much quieter, somewhere forgotten in the glittering pages of history. Find yourself a comfortable position. Let your shoulders drop. Feel the weight of your body slowly sinking down into the softness beneath you. Let today's worries drift away, like small ripples dissolving into sand. We won't be going to the arena tonight, not to the roar of the crowd, the clash of metal on metal, or the tension of life and death. We're going behind the arena, to the silence before dawn, to the sighs of tired men after a long day. Tonight, we'll live just one day, just one ordinary day in the life of a Roman gladiator. If you find these quiet journeys into the past help bring you peace, consider following along. It's like a small signal sent across the night, letting me know that someone out there is listening with me. Now then, close your eyes, take a deep breath in, and let it out, slowly. The first light of day isn't golden, but a cold, gray thing. It doesn't stream through glass windows, but seeps through the gaps of a heavy wooden door and a small ventilation slot high up on the stone wall. The air carries the chill of the night before, the coolness of stone, of damp earth, and of the dried sweat of dozens of men sleeping around you. You open your eyes, but there isn't much to see. Just the shadows of simple bunk beds, rough woolen blankets. You can hear the deep snoring of the man in the bunk above you, the mumbling of someone dreaming in the corner of the room. This is the familiar symphony of morning. No alarm clock, just habit carved deep into bone and muscle. You don't hurry to rise. There's no reason to hurry. Every day begins like this, and likely will end the same way. You lie still, feeling the roughness of the straw mattress beneath your back. It's not soft, but it's familiar. Its smell, too, a mixture of old straw, earth dust, and something that feels like patience. You listen. Listen to the sounds beyond the walls of the ludus, the training school. In the distance, a rooster crows. The wheel of some ox cart creaks along the dirt road. Rome is waking up, but here, in the quarters of the gladiators, time seems to move a little slower. This is your world, a world shaped by stone walls, rigid schedules, and waiting. And as you lie there, in this gray quiet, you feel every fiber of muscle in your body. A dull ache in your right shoulder, an old bruise on your thigh, the accumulated fatigue of hundreds of training days before this one. Your body is a tool, an asset, and also a burden. It tells your story, a story that needs no words. Just lie still a little longer. Feel this quietness, because before long, the new day will truly begin, with its sounds and smells and routines that never change. The gray light grows imperceptibly brighter, not with warmth, but with the slow persistence of dawn. Through the small opening near the ceiling, you can see a patch of sky the color of old pewter. No clouds, just that flat, early morning emptiness that seems to stretch forever. Around you, the breathing patterns tell their own stories. The man to your left breathes like he's still running in his dreams. The one across the narrow aisle has developed a wheeze over the years. Too much dust in the lungs, too many hits to the chest. Someone else sleeps silent as death itself. barely stirring the air. These are the sounds of survival, each breath a small victory. You know that in perhaps an hour, maybe less, the bronze bell will ring from the courtyard. Not loud, not urgent, just persistent. It will cut through the gray morning like a knife through bread, clean and final. And then this peaceful moment will be over, replaced by the structured rhythm of another day that looks exactly like yesterday and probably exactly like tomorrow. But for now, there's this pocket of stillness, this moment where time feels suspended, where you exist in the space between sleeping and waking, between yesterday's exhaustion and today's demands. Your mind drifts, not quite dreaming, not quite thinking, just floating. You can smell the ludus waking up around you, the faint smoke from the kitchen fires being lit, the mustiness of dozens of men in a confined space, the earthy smell of the sand that covers every floor, that gets into everything, that you'll taste in your food and feel between your teeth. It's not unpleasant, really. It's the smell of your life. In the distance, so faint you almost imagine it, you hear the first sounds of preparation, the clink of metal on metal as someone checks equipment, the soft shuffle of feet on stone, the murmur of voices, too low to make out words, but familiar in their rhythm. The ludus is a machine, and slowly, quietly, it's beginning to turn. Your own breathing has settled into the rhythm of this place, slow, steady, economical. Nothing wasted, everything measured. Even sleep here has a purpose, a function. Rest is not luxury, it's maintenance. Your body is valuable property, and property must be maintained. But in these last moments, before the day claims you, you allow yourself something that feels almost like luxury. You allow yourself to simply exist, not as a gladiator, not as property, not as entertainment, just as a consciousness lying in the gray dawn, feeling the weight of blanket and the solidity of stone walls, listening to the quiet symphony of other humans breathing in the dark. This is where our story begins. Not with trumpets and ceremony, not with the clash of swords or the roar of crowds. It begins here, in the gray light of dawn, with the simple act of waking up, with the everyday miracle of opening your eyes to find yourself still alive, still breathing, still capable of feeling the rough wool against your skin, and the promise of another day. The bell will ring soon, but not yet, not quite yet. A bronze bell rings out from the inner courtyard, its sound dry and emotionless. That's the signal. No one shouts, no one hurries. People simply begin to stir, wearily leaving their beds. The rustle of straw, the sound of yawning, dry coughs cutting through the morning air. You join the stream of men, heading to the communal dining hall, a long, low room with wooden tables worn smooth by countless meals. The air is warmer here, thanks to the fires from the kitchen, but it also carries a distinctive smell. The aroma of barley porridge bubbling in a massive bronze cauldron. People often imagine gladiators feasting on roasted meat, drinking fine wine to build their strength. But the truth is much simpler than that. Simple to the point of being almost funny. Your nickname among the Romans is hordeari, the barley men. Your main meal, the fuel for those rippling muscles, is porridge. A thick, heavy porridge made from barley, or sometimes wheat, occasionally with a few beans thrown in. The cook, an elderly slave with a weathered face, uses a large ladle to scoop the porridge into your wooden bowl. It's steaming hot, and that's about all you can say for it. No sugar, no honey, no fruit. Just the bland, slightly gritty taste of grain. You find a seat on the long bench and begin to eat. You eat not because it's delicious, but because you need to. Each spoonful of porridge is energy for the training session ahead. Around you, the others do the same. The sound of wooden spoons scraping against wooden bowls is the only noise. No one talks much in the morning. The porridge sits heavy in your stomach, warm and filling, but utterly without joy. It's sustenance in its most basic form. Calories converted to survival. Nothing more, nothing less. You remember dimly meals from before. A memory so distant it feels like someone else's dream. Fresh bread, perhaps, and cheese in some village somewhere. But you push it away quickly. Thinking doesn't fill your belly. Porridge does. You eat until the bowl is clean, feeling the warmth spread through your stomach. It's not satisfaction exactly, but something more fundamental. Sufficiency. Enough to survive another day. The man next to you, a Germanic tribesman whose name you've never learned to pronounce properly, finishes his portion and stares into the empty bowl as if it might magically refill itself. His massive hands dwarf the wooden vessel. These are hands that could crush a man's windpipe, and here they are, delicately maneuvering a spoon around the rim to catch every last grain of barley. Across the table, someone older, a veteran with scars crisscrossing his forearms like a map of old battles, chews slowly, methodically. He's learned to make even this simple meal last, to extract whatever small pleasure can be found in the act of eating. His jaw works with the patience of years, and you wonder what memories he's chasing with each bite. The dining hall empties gradually. No rush, no urgency. Some men linger over the last drops of watered wine that comes with the meal. Barely wine at all, really. More like vinegar-flavored water. But it's wet, and it's not porridge, so it has value. You've learned to appreciate these small distinctions, these tiny variations in an otherwise monotonous routine. As you stand, your body catalogs its complaints. The shoulder still aches. Your left knee, damaged in a training accident months ago, announces itself with a sharp reminder. Your lower back, compressed by years of wearing heavy armor, protests the movement. But these are familiar pains, old friends by now. You've learned to distinguish between the pain that warns and the pain that simply is. After breakfast, you have a brief interlude. You check your hand wraps, leather strips that protect your wrists and knuckles. They're old now, softened by sweat and wear, with several spots that need mending. You take out a bone needle and dried sinew, settling cross-legged on the ground to make repairs. This is work that requires focus, a small meditation. Your hands, so accustomed to wielding weapons, are equally capable of these delicate movements. The morning sun has burned off some of the gray, casting longer shadows across the courtyard. You can hear the everyday sounds of the ludus waking up fully, the clank of practice weapons being sorted, the splash of water as someone washes, the low murmur of conversation in a dozen different languages and dialects. Then the bell rings again. Time for the yard. The training ground is a wide area covered in thick sand. At its center stand several wooden posts, each about man height, called palas. These will be your first opponents of the day. You receive your practice weapons. Not the gleaming steel gladius you might use in the arena, but a wooden sword made of dense oak, twice the weight of a real blade. The shield, too, is made of wood and leather, deliberately heavy. Today's goal isn't speed or technique, but endurance. The trainer, a former gladiator with a ruined left eye, walks back and forth, carrying a long staff. He doesn't shout. His voice is low and steady, pointing out errors with surgical precision. Your shoulders too high, Marcus. Your shield's leaving your flank open, Lucius. You're breathing from your chest, not your belly. You stand before your assigned palace. The exercise begins. Thrust, step back, block, thrust, step back, block. A steady rhythm, repeated endlessly. The sound of wooden sword against wooden post creates a dull thock, thock noise. Dozens of other men around you are doing exactly the same thing. The entire training ground resonates with a monotonous percussion of wood on wood, like some vast mechanical heartbeat. Sweat begins to bead on your forehead. It runs down, stinging your eyes. Your breathing becomes labored. The arm holding the shield starts to ache with that deep, bone-tired pain that comes from holding weight too long. But you continue. Thrust, step back, block. This isn't combat. This is work. Like a blacksmith hammering metal, like a farmer tilling soil. You're forging your body, turning it into a machine that obeys. There's no glamour here, no audience, just sand, sweat, and the sound of wood hitting wood. You can feel each drop of perspiration rolling down your spine. You can smell the dust being kicked up, mixing with the scent of your own sweat and that of the men around you. The dull ache in your shoulder begins to sharpen into something more insistent, but you've learned to ignore it, learned to live alongside it. The sun climbs higher, and the training ground becomes an oven. The sand beneath your feet grows warm, then hot. Some of the men have stripped to just their loincloths, their bodies gleaming with moisture. The Germanic giant to your left moves like a mountain, slow, deliberate, inexorable. Each of his strikes against the palace shakes the ground slightly. To your right, a smaller man, quick and wiry like a ferret, practices a different rhythm entirely. His wooden sword flickers against the post like lightning, but you notice the trainer watching him carefully. "Conserve your energy, Cassius," comes the steady voice. "The post doesn't tire. You do." Occasionally, you're paired with another man for sparring. The two of you will practice combinations, but still with the wooden weapons. There's no intent to injure. Safety is paramount because you represent significant investment. The goal is to read your opponent, to feel their rhythm, to train your reflexes. The sound of wooden shields clashing creates a different tone, deeper and more resonant than sword on post. Everything is controlled. Everything is measured. You are valuable property, and valuable property is not allowed to damage itself during practice. Your partner today is someone you've worked with before, a steady, methodical fighter who reminds you of the old man at breakfast. He doesn't try to overwhelm you with speed or strength. Instead, he presents you with problems to solve, angles to consider, timing to master. It's almost like a conversation conducted in the language of wooden weapons. Block high, thrust low. He anticipates, shifts his shield, counters with a strike toward your ribs. You pivot, feeling the sand shift under your feet. Bring your own shield around to intercept. The impact travels up your arm, a solid, satisfying contact that speaks of proper technique. He nods slightly, approval, or perhaps just acknowledgement of a move well executed. The wooden sword grows slippery in your grip, as sweat accumulates. You adjust your hold, feeling the familiar grooves worn by countless hands before yours. This particular practice weapon has seen years of use, its surface polished smooth by palm and fingers, its balance altered slightly by the gradual wearing away of wood fiber. Time loses meaning in the rhythm of practice. Thrust, block, step, turn. Thrust, block, step, turn. Your mind empties of everything except the immediate requirements of balance, timing, distance. This is meditation through repetition, enlightenment through exhaustion. The sun reaches its zenith, and the trainer strikes his staff against the ground twice. The signal to stop. Around you, men lower their weapons, breathing hard, bodies gleaming with sweat. Some lean against their palace, using the wooden posts for support. Others simply sit down in the sand, too tired to remain standing. You lower your practice sword and shield, feeling the immediate relief as the weight leaves your arms. Your muscles ache with that particular satisfaction that comes from work well done, from pushing the body to its limits without crossing into injury. This is the good pain, the pain that means growth, adaptation, survival. Your tunic is soaked through with sweat, clinging to your body like a second skin. Sand has found its way into every crevice, between your toes, under your fingernails, in the creases of your elbows. You'll be finding grains of it for hours, tiny reminders of this morning's work. Looking around the training ground, you see the evidence of the morning's labor. The sand is churned and disturbed, marked with the patterns of countless feet. The wooden posts show fresh marks where practice swords have struck them thousands of times. Some of the newer men are still breathing hard, their bodies not yet adapted to the relentless demands of gladiator training. But you feel something approaching contentment. Not happiness exactly, but the satisfaction of a job completed, of muscles properly used, of another step taken on the long road toward what? Survival, freedom, or simply tomorrow's training session. The morning's work is finished. Your body has been maintained, tuned, prepared for whatever may come. The machine of your existence has been properly serviced for another day. And that, perhaps, is enough. The morning training session ends when the sun reaches its peak. There's no bell to signal the finish. The trainer simply strikes his staff against the ground twice, and everyone stops, breathing heavily, bodies slick with perspiration. After storing the weapons, you don't rest immediately. You and several others make your way to a corner of the ludus, to a smaller building, cleaner and brighter than the sleeping quarters. This is the sanitarium, the medical facility. Contrary to the harshness of the training ground, the medical facility is a place of meticulous care. The Laniste, the owners of gladiator schools, understand that their most valuable assets are the health and bodies of their fighters. The physicians, medici, who work in the ludus, are often among the best available, sometimes more skilled than those serving the nobility. They are specialists in bones, muscles, and wound management. You step inside, removing your sweat-soaked tunic. The smell here is completely different. Not sweat and dust, but the aroma of various herbs, the sharp scent of comfrey, the pungent bite of garlic, the gentle fragrance of chamomile flowers. A physician, a Greek man with remarkably gentle hands, examines the scrape on your arm from yesterday's training. He doesn't speak much, just nods, then takes a dark green salve from a ceramic jar. The sensation of the cool ointment spreading across your skin is immediate relief, soothing the burning sensation. He bandages the wound with a strip of clean linen cloth. You look around the room. One man is having his shoulder joint manipulated back into proper alignment. Another is soaking his feet in a basin of warm water mixed with salt and herbs. A third is receiving a back massage with olive oil. This is a scene that's almost tender. In the midst of a world built on violence, this is an oasis of healing. The strongest men in Rome sit here quietly, allowing others to tend to their injuries. The Greek physician's hands work with practiced efficiency. He's probably seen every type of injury imaginable. Cuts from practice weapons, pulled muscles from overexertion, bruises from falls in the sand. His touch is clinical, but not unkind. There's something almost fatherly in the way he examines each wound, his brow furrowed in concentration. On the far wall, shelves hold dozens of ceramic vessels, each containing different remedies: willow bark for pain, honey for wound healing, various powdered roots, and dried leaves whose purposes you don't understand but trust implicitly. This knowledge, accumulated over centuries, represents a kind of wisdom that transcends the brutality of the arena. A young fighter, new to the ludus, winces as the physician probes a swollen ankle. The Greek speaks softly to him in accented Latin, explaining what he's doing, why it hurts, how long it will take to heal. There's patience in his voice, the tone of someone who understands that fear makes everything worse. The contrast is striking. Outside these walls, you are weapons, instruments of entertainment, objects that fight and bleed for the amusement of crowds. But here, you are simply human bodies that need care, maintenance, healing. The physician sees you not as gladiators, but as collections of muscles, bones, and skin that require professional attention. Lunch is porridge again, but it might include some boiled vegetables or a few olives. After the meal comes rest time. This is the longest and most empty part of the day. What can you do? Some choose sleep. They lie down right on the dining hall floor or return to their bunks, seeking oblivion in unconsciousness. Sleep is escape, and escape, even temporary, has value. Others seek distraction. In one corner of the courtyard, a small group gathers around a game board of latrincoli, a Roman tactical game scratched roughly into a flat stone. They use colored pebbles as game pieces. The atmosphere isn't tense, just a way to kill time. You choose to sit alone, back against a sun-warmed wall. You pull out a small piece of wood and your knife. You begin to whittle, carve, shape. Maybe it will become a bird, a horse, or some half-remembered face. Your hands work mechanically while your mind wanders. Around you, life continues. Two men are talking quietly in some foreign dialect, Germanic or Gallic perhaps. One is trying to repair the strap of his sandal. Another simply sits, staring into space, his face revealing nothing. This is the Familia Gladiatoria, the Gladiator family, a family not bound by blood, but by shared circumstance. There's competition, yes, but also friendship. You know who you can trust to watch your back during sparring. You know who talks in his sleep at night. You share meals, share scars, and share silence. The man working on his sandal, you know him as Tertius, though that's probably not his real name, has been here longer than most. His hands are permanently stained with leather oil and small cuts from his craft. Before the ludus, he might have been a cobbler, a leather worker. Now, those same skills serve to maintain equipment, repair straps, patch armor. Useful skills don't disappear just because circumstances change. Near the game of La Tronquili, someone laughs, a rare and precious sound. Perhaps someone told a crude joke or remembered some ridiculous incident. For a moment, the heavy atmosphere lifts. They are not gladiators. They are just men, finding brief joy in each other's company. The laughter spreads slightly, not the explosive kind that attracts attention, but the quiet sharing of amusement between people who understand each other's circumstances. It's the sound of humanity persisting despite everything designed to crush it. You continue your whittling, feeling the wood respond to your knife. The piece is beginning to look like something. A small horse, perhaps, or maybe a dog. You're not sure yet. The wood will tell you what it wants to become. Your fingers, so accustomed to gripping weapons, find this delicate work surprisingly soothing. The afternoon sun is warm, but not oppressive. A gentle breeze occasionally stirs the air, carrying scents from beyond the ludus walls. Bread, baking somewhere, the smoke of cooking fires, the earthy smell of gardens being watered, reminders of a world that continues to exist beyond these stone barriers. Someone nearby is mending a tear in his tunic, using the same careful stitches you employed on your hand wraps this morning. These small maintenance tasks fill the empty hours, keep hands busy, minds occupied. There's a meditative quality to this kind of work, repetitive, necessary, oddly satisfying. The Germanic giant from morning training sits cross-legged like a mountain, methodically oiling his leather belt. His massive hands, capable of crushing bone, work with surprising delicacy. He applies the oil in small circles, working it deep into the leather, making it supple and strong. Someone taught him this, long ago and far away. Perhaps his father, in some forest clearing in Germania. Conversations drift in and out of your awareness. Someone discussing a dream from the previous night. Another man wondering aloud about news from his homeland, though none of them will ever receive such news. A quiet debate about whether the new trainer is harder or easier than the previous one. These are the conversations of men with too much time and too little to fill it. They talk about small things because large things, freedom, family, the future, are too painful to consider directly. Better to focus on whether the porridge was thicker this morning, whether the weather will hold, whether that new fighter from Thrace will prove as tough as he looks. The man playing La Trincheli makes a move that draws a small crowd of observers. The game has reached some critical juncture that warrants attention. You watch from your position against the wall as they lean in, studying the position of the pebbles, offering quiet advice or commentary. Clever, someone says in Latin flavored with an accent you can't place. Didn't see that coming? The player who made the move allows himself a small smile. In the arena, cleverness might keep you alive. Here, it just wins you a game played with stones on scratched rock. But the satisfaction is real nonetheless. The pleasure of seeing several moves ahead, of setting a trap and watching it spring. Your own piece of wood is taking shape now. Definitely an animal of some kind, though you're still not certain which. The knife moves almost without conscious direction, following the grain of the wood, responding to the natural lines and curves hidden within. This is creativity in its purest form, making something from nothing, bringing order from chaos. A shadow falls across your work. One of the veteran fighters, the scarred man from breakfast, stands nearby, not looking directly at your carving, but clearly interested. He doesn't speak, just nods slightly. Recognition, perhaps, of the need to keep hands busy, minds occupied. He understands the importance of small projects, small goals, small accomplishments in a life largely defined by external control. Horse? He asks quietly. You look at your carving, considering. Maybe. Or a dog. The wood hasn't decided yet. He nods, as if this makes perfect sense. Which, in this place, it does. Nothing here is entirely under your control. Not even the animals you carve from scraps of wood. You work with what you're given, shape what you can, accept what you cannot change. The sun moves across the sky, casting changing shadows through the courtyard. Time passes slowly here, marked not by urgency, but by the gradual shift of light and shadow. There are no appointments to keep, no schedules to meet, beyond the basic rhythm of meals and training. Time belongs to someone else. You are merely its temporary custodian. Someone begins to hum. A melody from somewhere far away. Something half remembered from childhood, perhaps. The tune is simple, repetitive, almost hypnotic. Others pick it up, not singing, but humming along, creating a quiet harmony that seems to rise naturally from the afternoon stillness. This is fellowship without words, connection without explanation. Men from different lands, different tribes, different circumstances, united momentarily by a shared melody. It's beautiful in its simplicity, profound in its modesty. Your carving is nearly finished now. A small horse you've decided, with a flowing mane and alert ears. Nothing fancy, but recognizably equine, pleasing to look at and smooth to the touch. You'll keep it, probably. Add it to the small collection of similar objects hidden beneath your mattress. Tiny pieces of yourself, created in moments like this. The humming fades naturally, leaving only the ambient sounds of afternoon rest. The game of La Trunculi concludes with handshakes and the scraping of stones being gathered up. Someone stretches, yawns, begins to think about the evening meal still hours away. This is how time passes in the ludus during the long hours between training sessions. Not dramatically, not with great events or revelations, but quietly, gently, with a slow accumulation of small moments. Men healing, resting, creating tiny things, sharing brief connections. The business of staying alive involves more than just physical survival. It requires the preservation of something recognizably human beneath the surface of what you've been trained to become. The afternoon stretches on, warm and drowsy and surprisingly peaceful. For now, there are no weapons to lift, no posts to strike, no wounds to tend. Just the simple pleasure of sitting in the sun, carving wood, listening to the quiet conversations of men who understand what it means to make the best of circumstances beyond their control. Soon enough, the evening training session will begin, but not yet. For now, there is this, the luxury of idle hands, the comfort of companionship, the satisfaction of small accomplishments. It's enough, more than enough. As the afternoon slowly surrenders to evening, the second training session begins. This time, it focuses more on technique. You'll practice with your specialized weapon type. If you're a retiarius, you'll work on net throwing. If you're a secutor, you'll practice moving with that enclosed helmet that restricts your vision. Each fighter has a specialty, a particular dance of death that belongs to them alone. The evening session ends. As you're wiping away sweat and preparing for the final meal of the day, one of the Ludus administrators calls your name. He hands you a small package wrapped in fine cloth. You unwrap it carefully. Inside is a small honey cake made with nuts and spices. Accompanying it is a rolled piece of papyrus. You cannot read, but the administrator reads it aloud for you. It's a message from a noblewoman, an admirer. She praises your courage and sculptured physique. Here lies one of the greatest paradoxes of your existence. You are a slave, a person society considers infamous, disgraced, ranked alongside actors and prostitutes in the social hierarchy. But simultaneously, you are a superstar. Your name is scrawled on walls throughout Rome. Your image is carved on oil lamps, painted on pottery. Children play with small figurines modeled after gladiators. And women, especially women of the upper classes, they are fascinated by you. They see in you a wildness, a primal strength that their aristocratic husbands lack. They send gifts, send letters, and sometimes they pay for private meetings. You are a symbol of masculinity, a dangerous fantasy made flesh. You accept the honey cake. You feel neither pride nor pleasure. You feel only strangeness. This woman knows nothing about you. She doesn't know the taste of barley porridge, doesn't know the feeling of a wound healing under fresh bandages, doesn't know the silence of the room where you sleep. She loves an image, not a person. You'll share this cake with your bunkmate. For you, it's simply a rare bit of sweetness in an otherwise flavorless existence. The administrator mentions, almost casually, that there have been others. 3 more such packages this week alone. A silk ribbon from a senator's wife. A small bronze ring from a wealthy merchant's daughter. A vial of expensive perfume from someone who signed herself only as your devoted admirer. These women see you fight, if you're lucky enough to have earned arena appearances, and they construct elaborate fantasies around your persona. To them, you represent everything their refined, civilized world has polished away. Raw power, authentic danger, the intoxicating proximity of death. They imagine you as a noble savage, a beautiful beast, a tragic hero worthy of epic poetry. The reality, of course, is far more mundane. You eat porridge. You mend your equipment. You sleep in a room that smells of too many men living too close together. You worry about small injuries becoming serious ones. You count days not toward glory, but toward simple survival. But the gifts keep coming, testament to a fame you never sought and don't entirely understand. Sometimes it's food, delicacies you can barely identify, let alone appreciate. Sometimes it's small luxuries, a comb made of ivory, a piece of good soap, a scroll containing poetry written in your honor by someone who has never spoken to you. The most unsettling gifts are the personal ones. A lock of hair tied with golden thread. A piece of jewelry that still carries the scent of its former owner. A painting, clearly commissioned, depicting you in some romanticized arena scene that bears no resemblance to actual combat, but perfectly captures the fantasy these women have constructed. You understand, in a vague way, that you represent something to these people, something they cannot find in their ordered, predictable lives. But the understanding brings no satisfaction, only a kind of weary bewilderment. You are simultaneously the most watched and the most invisible person in Rome. After the evening meal, the most substantial of the day, possibly including some stewed meat and a cup of watered wine, you're allowed to move freely, within the Ludus compound. You can walk to the main gate. The massive oak doors are securely barred. Through the gaps, you can see the world outside. Free people walking past, laughing and talking. Families heading home. Warm lamplight spilling from villa windows. You stand there, looking out. Just a few steps away, but it might as well be another world entirely. You can hear it, smell it, but you cannot touch it. You are not chained, but you remain a prisoner. The walls of the Ludus are made not just of stone, but of law, social status, and destiny. Occasionally, a gladiator attempts escape. Most are recaptured. The punishments are severe. But sometimes, rarely, someone succeeds. News of such escapes spreads through the Ludus like whispered prayers, kindling tiny flames of hope in hearts that have learned not to hope. But the greatest hope is not escape. The greatest hope is earning the rudies, the wooden sword that symbolizes freedom. After years of fighting and surviving, if you demonstrate sufficient skill and win the crowd's affection, the Lanista might grant you this prize. Then you would be free. You could walk through those main gates as a liberated man. You might even become a trainer yourself. That is the dream. A distant dream, but it sustains many here. It's the thread that connects today's training to tomorrow's possibility, the bridge between endurance and hope. You look at your calloused hands, hands that know the weight of wooden practice swords and the grip of leather shield handles. Will these hands someday hold that symbolic wooden blade? Will you walk through these gates, not as escaped property, but as a free man earning his place in the world through merit? The questions have no answers. They float in the evening air, like the distant music from wealthy homes, beautiful and unreachable. For now, there is only tomorrow's porridge, tomorrow's training, tomorrow's small hope of surviving another day. Through the gate, you watch a family pass, father, mother, two young children. The children are playing some sort of game, darting around their parents' legs, laughing at something only they understand. The father carries a small bundle, probably dinner from the market. The mother walks with the easy confidence of someone who knows where she will sleep tonight, and tomorrow night, and the night after that. This is what freedom looks like, you think. Not dramatic gestures or grand declarations, but the simple ability to choose your own direction, to walk where you will, to make plans beyond the next meal or training session, to love whom you choose, to work at what you prefer, to fail or succeed by your own efforts. A merchant walks by, leading a donkey loaded with goods. His face shows the comfortable weariness of honest work completed, profit earned, a successful day in the marketplace. Behind him, a slave follows, but even that slave will return to familiar quarters, to people who know his name, to routines he has helped establish. You have admirers who shower you with gifts, but you have no friends beyond these walls. You have fame that echoes through the greatest city in the world, but you have no home to return to. You are known by thousands, but understood by none. A lamp is lit in a nearby villa, casting warm light through decorated windows. You can see shadows moving within, people beginning their evening routines, preparing for sleep in beds they chose, in rooms they call their own. Someone is playing a flute, the melody drifting across the cooling air like a visible thing. The music speaks of leisure, of art for its own sake, of time that belongs to the person who chooses how to spend it. It's beautiful and melancholy and completely foreign to your experience. In the ludus, time is measured and distributed. Music, when it exists at all, is the rhythmic sound of practice weapons or the occasional humming of homesick men. But tonight, for just a moment, you can listen to someone else's music, someone else's expression of beauty or longing or simple pleasure. It connects you, however briefly, to the world beyond. A group of young nobles passes by the gate, their voices bright with wine and good fortune. They're debating something. Philosophy, perhaps, or politics, or the merits of different poets. Their conversation assumes education, leisure, the luxury of caring about abstract ideas. They argue with the passion of people who believe their opinions matter, who expect to be heard and respected. One of them might be among your admirers, someone who watches you fight and constructs romantic fantasies about your strength and nobility. But here, walking free under the stars, he is simply a young man with friends and prospects and the assumption that tomorrow will offer choices to be made rather than orders to be followed. The irony is not lost on you. He may admire your physical prowess, your proximity to death, your supposed courage in the face of mortal danger, but he would never trade places with you. The fantasy of your life appeals to him precisely because it remains fantasy. Something to thrill at from a safe distance, something to imagine without having to endure. You turn away from the gate, back toward the interior of the ludus. The courtyard is quieter now, most men having retreated to their quarters or found sheltered corners for private thoughts. A few oil lamps cast pools of yellow light, creating small islands of visibility in the gathering darkness. Tomorrow will bring another dawn, another bell, another bowl of porridge. The routine that structures your days will continue, reliable as the movement of the sun, predictable as the changing seasons. There's comfort in this predictability, even as there's also a kind of slow suffocation. Near the dormitory entrance, you pass the veteran fighter, the one with scars mapping old battles across his arms. He nods at you, a small acknowledgement, a recognition of shared understanding. He has stood at that gate too, has looked through those gaps at the world beyond, has felt the weight of invisible walls. Another day, he says quietly, not really to you, not really to himself, just to the evening air. Another day, you agree. It's not much of a conversation, but it's enough. Two men acknowledging the passage of time, the accumulation of days survived, the slow progress toward what? Freedom? Death? Some middle ground, where endurance becomes its own form of victory. You enter the sleeping quarters, the familiar smell of many men in a confined space welcoming you like an old friend. Your bunk waits, your small collection of personal items hidden beneath the mattress, your place in this strange family of circumstance and shared fate. Outside, the free world continues its evening rituals. Inside, you prepare for sleep, for dreams that might carry you beyond these walls, for rest that will restore your body for tomorrow's challenges. The wooden sword of freedom remains a distant hope, but hope nonetheless. The final prize in a game where simply staying alive counts as winning. You lie down, feeling the familiar roughness of the straw mattress, the weight of the rough blanket. Through the small window high on the wall, a few stars are visible. The same stars that shine on the free world beyond these walls. The same constellations that have watched over countless dreamers throughout history. Tonight, you are a slave, a fighter, a reluctant celebrity loved by strangers and owned by your master. But under these stars, in the democracy of sleep that comes to all men regardless of their station, you are simply human, breathing, dreaming, hoping for tomorrow to bring something slightly better than today. The honey cake from your admirer rests in your stomach, a small sweetness in the daily diet of survival. It changes nothing about your circumstances, but it reminds you that somewhere beyond these walls, someone thinks of you as more than property. It's not freedom, but it's something. In a life measured in small increments of dignity preserved and hope maintained, sometimes something is enough. The golden cage that holds you is strong, but it is still just a cage. Someday, perhaps, the door will open. Until then, you endure, you survive, you find small pleasures in honey cakes and brief moments of music drifting over walls. You are simultaneously the most famous and the most forgotten man in Rome, and that paradox will sustain you through another night, toward another dawn, toward whatever tomorrow may bring. Darkness settles over the ludus. The torches in the courtyard have been extinguished, leaving only the cold silver light of the moon filtering down. It's time for sleep. You return to your quarters, the air once again familiar and close, the smell of many men, of straw, of another day completed. You remove your clothes, keeping only a simple loincloth, then climb into your bunk. Your body aches. It's the sweet ache of exhaustion, muscles properly used and ready for rest. You lie on your back, looking up into the darkness of the ceiling. You don't think about tomorrow. You don't think about future battles. Your mind is too tired for worry. Instead, you listen. You hear the steady breathing of those around you. Some breathe light as children. Others wheeze and rattle like old bellows. There's the grinding of teeth, the sound of someone turning over, making the straw mattress whisper and crackle. Each sound is evidence of life, proof that they've survived another day. This is the most comforting sound in the world to you, the sound of companionship in the darkness. The man in the bunk above you, you know him only as the Gaul, breathes with the deep regularity of someone long accustomed to physical labor. His breathing has become your nighttime metronome, a reliable rhythm that helps mark the passage from wakefulness to sleep. Tonight, like every night, that steady rise and fall of his chest above you serves as an anchor in the darkness. Across the narrow aisle, someone mutters in his sleep, words in a language you don't recognize, probably from some distant province or barbarian territory. The words themselves are meaningless to you, but their tone speaks of home, of dreams that carry the sleeper back to places and people he will never see again. Even in sleep, the heart travels. Further away, someone coughs, a deep, productive sound that speaks of dust in the lungs, years of breathing the sand of training grounds and arenas. It's not a sickness, just the accumulated wear of this life, the slow deposit of particles that comes from living close to the earth, close to the elements, close to the raw materials of survival. The youngest member of your dormitory, barely more than a boy, really, though already marked by the characteristic scars of training, sleeps with the profound stillness of youth. His breathing is so quiet you sometimes wonder if he's still alive, until a slight shift or murmur reassures you that he continues his journey through whatever dreams carry him away from this place. As your body begins to relax, your mind starts to drift. Images, fragments of memory appear without order or logic. You remember the feeling of sunlight on wheat fields back home. You remember the taste of an apple, fresh from the tree. You remember your mother's face. These memories don't make you sad. They simply exist, like distant stars in the night sky. They are part of who you are, part that the ludus cannot touch. The memory of bread, real bread, not the coarse grain that sustains you now, but the soft, warm loaves your mother pulled from the village oven. You can almost smell the yeast, almost feel the steam rising from the broken crust. Your mouth would water at the memory if you had energy left for such physical responses. Instead, it's just a warm ghost of sensation, pleasant but insubstantial. There was a dog once, in that other life, a brown and white creature with intelligent eyes and a tail that never stopped moving. You remember the feel of its fur under your hand, the way it would lean against your leg when you sat by the fire. Simple companionship, freely given and freely received. The dog never cared about your status, your prospects, your usefulness to others. It simply enjoyed your presence, as you enjoyed its. A girl from the village appears in your memory, though her face is blurred now, softened by time and distance. You remember her laugh more clearly than her features, bright and sudden, like water over stones. She had a way of looking at you as if you were exactly who you were supposed to be, nothing more, nothing less. In this life, you are always becoming something else, being shaped into someone else's vision of usefulness. In that memory, you were simply yourself. The feel of rain on your face, walking through fields that belong to no one and everyone. The way water would collect in the furrows, creating temporary streams that would vanish with the next dry day. Everything temporary, everything changing. But somehow that impermanence felt like freedom rather than uncertainty. Your father's hands, you remember those clearly. Rough from work, gentle when they needed to be, strong enough to lift you as a child, careful enough to mend a broken tool or tend a small injury. Those hands taught you that strength and gentleness could exist in the same person. That power could be controlled and directed rather than simply unleashed. You think about your helmet, the distinctive enclosed helm of a secutor, heavy and restricting, with only small eye holes for vision. When you wear it, the world outside disappears. You hear only your own breathing, echoing in the metallic confines. Feel only the weight pressing down on your head and shoulders. You are isolated, cut off, alone with the sound of your own life processes. Sometimes this entire existence feels like wearing that helmet. You move through the world, you fight, you survive, but always there's that weight, that separation, that isolation from everything around you. You see the world through narrow openings, hear it filtered through metal and distance. Even surrounded by the familia gladiatoria, even connected to these men who share your circumstances, part of you remains forever locked inside your own private armor. But then a different feeling creeps in. The sensation of fatigue winning its ancient battle with consciousness. Your eyelids grow heavy, weighted with the accumulated tiredness of another day survived. Your breathing deepens and slows, beginning to synchronize with the rhythm of the room around you. Thoughts begin to dissolve, blur, like ink spreading through water. The pain in your body, the persistent ache in your shoulder, the tender spots where training has left its marks, begins to fade into something warmer, less insistent, Your muscles release their tension gradually, like a clenched fist slowly opening. Each exhale takes away a little more of the day's accumulation of stress and effort. The straw beneath you, rough as it is, begins to feel more yielding, more welcoming. Your body has learned to find comfort in this simple bedding, to accept what's offered rather than yearn for what's absent. Adaptation, you've learned, is another form of strength, not the dramatic power of combat, but the quiet resilience of accepting what cannot be changed while preserving what must not be lost. The woolen blanket, coarse and scratchy when you first arrived here, now feels familiar against your skin. It carries the scent of many washings, many nights, many men who have sought the same simple comfort you seek now. There's community even in this shared textile, this common covering that speaks of institutional care, basic provision, the minimal tenderness of ensuring survival. Someone across the room sighs deeply in his sleep, a sound of complete release. Another man shifts position, the straw rustling briefly before settling back into quiet. These small sounds are reassuring rather than disturbing, evidence that you are not alone in the darkness, that others are making the same journey from consciousness to rest, from the weight of the day to the relief of night. Your own breathing has found its natural pace now, slower and deeper than your waking rhythm. The air in the room is shared air, breathed by many lungs, warmed by many bodies. There's something almost sacred in this communal respiration, this shared act of staying alive through the simple process of drawing breath and releasing it. The darkness behind your closed eyelids begins to take on its own geography, not the harsh darkness of blindness, but the soft, encompassing darkness of approaching sleep. Colors that aren't quite colors drift across your inner vision, deep purples fading to black, occasional flashes of gold that might be residual sunlight or might be the beginning of dreams. Your body feels heavier now, settling more deeply into the simple mattress. The boundary between yourself and the bed begins to blur, as if you're slowly melting into the straw and wood and rough fabric that support you. This is the daily miracle of sleep's approach, the gradual dissolution of the barriers between self and world, the slow surrender of consciousness to something larger and more fundamental. Somewhere in the distance of your awareness, you know that tomorrow will bring another dawn, another bell, another bowl of porridge. The routine will continue, reliable as sunrise, predictable as the changing seasons. But that knowledge feels distant now, irrelevant to the immediate reality of rest approaching. Your breathing has synchronized completely with the room around you now. You rise and fall with the collective rhythm of sleeping men, part of something larger than your individual consciousness. The familia gladiatoria extends even into sleep, binding you together through shared air, shared space, shared dreams of better days or simpler times. The last conscious thought you're aware of is not about fighting or training or survival. It's about the simple pleasure of horizontal rest, of muscles allowed to relax, of a mind permitted to stop planning and worrying and calculating. It's about the fundamental human right to unconsciousness, to the small death and rebirth that comes with each night's sleep. Your breathing continues, automatic and unthinking, while your awareness sinks deeper into whatever dreams await. The weight of the iron mask has been set aside for now. The golden cage remains locked, But sleep recognizes no barriers, acknowledges no masters. In sleep, you are simply human, simply alive, simply part of the great breathing organism of men at rest. The ludus settles into its deepest quiet. Tomorrow's challenges can wait. Tonight, there is only this: the democracy of sleep, the shared vulnerability of consciousness released, the simple peace of another day survived and another night embraced. In the darkness, surrounded by the gentle sounds of sleeping men, you join the ancient rhythm of rest that connects you not just to your immediate companions, but to all humanity throughout time. Tonight, you are not a gladiator, not property, not entertainment. You are simply someone who worked hard today and has earned the right to dream. Sleep comes quietly, like sand flowing through open fingers. Inevitable, gentle, welcome. The day releases its grip, and you sink gratefully into the soft darkness that knows no walls, recognizes no chains, and offers the same refuge to slave and emperor alike. Rest well. Dream peacefully. Tomorrow will bring what it brings, but tonight is yours. And so, a day has ended. An ordinary day, unremarkable in the life of a nameless man whom history remembers only through the image of an iron helmet and a wooden sword. He ate, he trained, he was tended to, he felt the fleeting touch of fame, and he experienced the weight of existence. And now, he sleeps. His sleep is deep and dreamless, the sleep of someone who has labored with purpose and earned rest through effort. His breathing has joined the rhythm of the room, the rhythm of shared survival, the rhythm of men who have learned to find peace within constraints. In sleep, his face relaxes from the careful neutrality required by waking life. The lines of tension smooth away. For these few hours, he is not property, not entertainment, not a symbol of anything beyond his own simple humanity. The moon moves across the small window, high on the wall, casting shifting patterns of silver light that touch sleeping faces and fold sleeping hands. These men, who seem so dangerous in daylight, so powerful and threatening, become in sleep what they truly are: human beings seeking rest, comfort, and the temporary escape that dreams provide. Tomorrow will bring the bronze bell again. We'll summon them back to their routine of porridge and practice, maintenance and endurance. But that tomorrow exists in another world, a world separated from this moment by the thin but impenetrable barrier of sleep. Here, now, there is only rest. The ludus itself seems to breathe around them, settling into the quiet rhythms of night. Stone walls that contain by day become sheltering boundaries in darkness. The sand of the training ground, so harsh under the sun, lies cool and still under starlight. Even the wooden practice posts stand like silent sentinels, patient in their wait for tomorrow's resumption of their ancient purpose. And you have been with him through this day, this ordinary, extraordinary day. You have felt the texture of his life, tasted his simple food, shared his small triumphs and quiet endures. You have walked beside him through hours that history does not record, moments that no chronicler thought worthy of preservation. But here, in the safety and comfort of your own rest, you can appreciate what he could not fully grasp: the profound courage required simply to continue day after day, without guarantee of reward or recognition. The strength needed not for dramatic gestures, but for the accumulated weight of thousands of small choices to survive, to maintain dignity, to preserve something recognizably human in circumstances designed to reduce men to mere function. Your own life, here in this modern world, carries its own challenges, its own forms of constraint and difficulty. But tonight, let yourself feel grateful for the simple freedoms he could only dream of. The freedom to choose your own food, to sleep in a bed you selected, to wake when your body tells you to, rather than when a bronze bell commands it. Feel grateful for the softness of your pillow, the warmth of your covering, the privacy of your own space. Feel grateful for the absence of stone walls that define the boundaries of your world, for the presence of choices that extend beyond mere survival into the realm of preference and desire. Let the story of the gladiator fade gently from your consciousness, like images dissolving in water. Let the details of his day, the training ground dusty with footprints, the medical room fragrant with herbs, the honey cake from an unknown admirer, drift away like clouds dispersing across an empty sky. What remains is the feeling, the sense of having touched another life, another time, another way of being human under vastly different circumstances. What remains is the understanding that courage comes in many forms, that dignity can survive almost any constraint, that even in the most controlled circumstances, the human spirit finds ways to assert its essential freedom. Allow your own breathing to find its natural rhythm now. Feel the gentle rise and fall of your chest, the easy flow of air in and out of your lungs. You are not wearing an iron helmet. You are not confined by stone walls. You are not waiting for bronze bells to signal the next required activity. You are free to sleep when you choose, to dream what you will, to wake when your body has taken the rest it needs. This freedom, so easily taken for granted, becomes precious when viewed through the eyes of someone who possessed it only in sleep, only in dreams, only in the small spaces where even the most controlling circumstances could not reach. Let your muscles relax completely now. Feel the weight of your body settling more deeply into whatever supports it. There is no sand beneath you, no straw mattress, no rough woolen blanket. There are no 50 other men breathing in the same small space. There is only your own comfort, your own peace, your own private journey into rest. Release any remaining tension from the day. Let go of any worries about tomorrow. Tomorrow will come with its own gifts and challenges, its own choices and possibilities. But tonight, you need only rest, only dream, only allow your consciousness to slip away into the darkness that knows no masters, recognizes no obligations, and offers the same welcome to everyone who seeks it. Sleep comes like sand flowing through fingers, inevitable, gentle, impossible to grasp, but easy to surrender to. Don't try to catch it or control it. Simply let it come. Let it carry you away from this day and these stories into the timeless realm where all humans meet as equals, where all pain is soothed, where all dreams are possible. The gladiator sleeps now in his distant time, his distant place. His day is complete, his rest earned, his small victories preserved in the space between sunset and dawn. You too have earned your rest, have completed your own daily journey through challenge and accomplishment, through effort and endurance. Thank you for walking with him through this ordinary day in an extraordinary life. Thank you for listening with patience and compassion to a story that has no heroes, no villains, only human beings doing what humans do, finding ways to survive, to maintain hope, to discover small pleasures, even in difficult circumstances. May your sleep be peaceful and your dreams be kind. May you wake refreshed and grateful for the freedoms you possess, the choices you can make, the life you can shape according to your own will and desire. Sleep now as he sleeps, as countless generations before you have slept, surrendering to the ancient rhythm that connects all human experience across time and space and circumstance. Sleep in peace, sleep in comfort, sleep in the knowledge that you have touched another life and been touched by it in return. Rest well, and let the sands of sleep carry you gently into dreams. Good night.